Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Delaney, and for today's video, we're going to be going through the Danessa Myricks Beauty Lightwork Volume 5 palette. We're going to be going through every single shade, talking about the colors, what I see, the shifts, up close swatches of them, if I've tried the formula, if I haven't yet on my eyes, and what each formula actually is, because there are multiple different formulas in the palette, 18 shades. And we'll be talking about the price of the palette and other things like that. Basically answering the question, do you need it? If you're thinking about buying this palette, this might be an important video to see all the different shades, to see if you like all of them. If you can find some maybe in some single shades from other indie brands, which I will include later on in this video, some of the similar ones that I have in my own collection for reference. So if you're interested in seeing all about this palette, seeing if you really need to buy it, then keep on watching. Like I said before, this is the Danessa Myricks Beauty Lightwork 5 I Am palette. This palette is basically all multi-chromes, duochromes, lots of different formulas of shimmers in here, and I will go over the formulas as I go through the shades. I will also pop up some information about each shade and kind of give my own description as well as some up-close swatches of each. So I'll let you know which ones I've tried on my eyes and which ones I haven't yet. I've tried about 3 different shades on my eyes so far, and they've all worked really well, but if I have any notes, I'll give them throughout the video. But yeah, so I wanted to start out and say that this is a $125 eyeshadow palette. So it is a hefty price tag for this palette, not something to be taken lightly. Let's go ahead and dive on into this palette. $125 gets you, so far, cardboard packaging, but it is pretty luxe packaging. I will say that. It doesn't feel cheap. It does have a nice metal plate on the front. It doesn't feel, it's not a sticker. I know some expensive palettes in the past have been like that. And it is nice and thick and durable and weighted, which is also another plus. But yes, this price tag is very hefty. You do get 18 shades in here. You do get a good variety of shades and formulas in this palette as well. And if you do like multi-chromes from indie brands, this is kind of the mainstream version of that, an all-in-one palette. So multi-chrome pigments are very expensive. I will go ahead and say that. So it's not surprising that this product is expensive. If you buy singles from indie brands that sell multi-chromes and duochromes and things like that, you will see that they are a little bit pricier than normal eyeshadows. And that is just because of the pigments as well. So if you're going to be buying a full palette of pigments that have the multi-chrome effect, it's not surprising that there is a higher price tag. So I definitely wanted to give that a shout out, even though it is on the pricier side. Is it worth it to you is going to be a question of if you like all the shades, if you feel like you're going to like all the finishes, if you think it's something you're going to get a lot of use out of and not just let it sit in your drawer. So let's go ahead and dive into the actual shades. Opening it up, beautiful packaging. And I love the rainbow effect on all the writing. It has a very large mirror, which is wonderful for application, and as well, you should get a mirror with a palette this expensive. So I love all the shades are kind of a feeling, and they are empowering feelings as well. Positive affirmations is kind of what this is like. So if you're feeling soft energy for the day, or bold energy, or grounding energy, you can pick from any of these, and it kind of gives you an idea of the feeling you get when wearing them, which I really enjoy. I love the bold column in particular, but also I love that there's some grounded neutral options in here, and it's a little bit of pops of color in that as well. Let's go ahead and get into what y'all are here for, which is the swatches. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. There are multiple different formulas for these shades, and I'm gonna be looking at this little sleeve that the palette came with. I will pop up the type of formula on the screen for y'all as we go through, just as a reminder of which is which. But we're gonna go ahead and start out with the soft energy, which is the first row in the palette, and then the first shade is Resilient, and it is a Heavenly Halo formula. So I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'm imagining from the name that it's going to be a little bit softer, maybe a transparent base, and just give kind of an ethereal glow, but still having some pigment in there. All right, so it is kind of as I expected, and it is a very subtle glow, but with some glitter in there, so still kind of packs a punch, but it doesn't have too much of a shift that I notice. It's mostly just kind of transparent to a bright blue which is pretty. I mean, it might not be my most used shade ever from the palette, but I think it's a good addition. Sometimes people don't want something with a super loud shift to it, so this might be a good starting point if you want to dive into these kind of shades. So let's go ahead and swatch. I'm just going to do them in rows on my hands to make this a lot easier. And we're going to live swatch it. So there we go. Ooh, yeah, that has a nice subtle shift. Has a kind of a bright blue to a slight pinky purple, but mostly just transparent to blue is what you see. But this is a gorgeous shade. There's some glitter in there, but it's not like super, super packed with glitter that has a lot of fallout, at least from what I can tell so far. I have not swatched this one on my eyes yet, but up close, this one does look absolutely beautiful, kind of haunting, a little bit ghostly, which is kind of fun. Nice springy blue. I really like it. So I think this one will be great as just a solo shade all over the eyes, or as like a inner corner highlight. You can do a lot with this. I think this would even make a great highlighter if you want to do a fun color highlight, because it does have that transparent base to it. So yeah, I think that one's a really gorgeous shade. So the next shade is shade Radiant, and it is a Heavenly Halo as well. So it looks like the top row is all Heavenly Halos except for one, and I'll talk about that one in a second. Ooh, that is so pretty. This one has a little bit more of a shift than the other one. I can definitely see the greenish gold at the top, and then a nice peachy orangey, almost to a copper. This one is like a multi-chrome version of the halo, which is really beautiful. Nice neutral option. Not all of these are super bold and colorful, which I appreciate. I like having a good variety of shades in a palette. So let's go ahead and swatch this beauty right here. Ooh. So this one does have a little bit more depth to it. If you flip it like that, you can still see it. It's not a transparent base, but it is a nice neutral option. So you can see that green when I flip it. It's almost like a greenish yellow, and then to a gold pink kind of a tone. And you can see a little bit of purple if I flip it this way, which it's kind of different. I like that a lot. But yeah, this one is just a beautiful, like all over the lid shade. I think this one is more of a versatile product that you could wear to more events every day at work or events in general. The bold colors are a little bit harder to pull off, but I'm glad with an expensive palette there are multiple options in here for you. If you want to be fun, flirty, whatever you're feeling that day, there's an option in here for you. And I love all of those flips, especially that green. I love green and I love neutrals, so I feel like this is going to be one of my most used shades. And I love how it's super metallic. It does have glitter in it, but it does have that like super metallic feel to it, even though it's not a metallic shade. I just realized my microphone is now on and it wasn't before, so I am sorry for the sound quality of the previous clips. Hopefully I can go ahead and fix that. Let's go ahead and go into the next shade so we keep it moving. The next shade is Centered, and it is a Fusion Flakes formula, so it's going to be a little bit different. You can definitely feel the difference when touching the shade as well. It feels a little bit more densely packed, and you kind of have to press a little harder to get the pigment out. But look how stunning this shade is. And you can kind of see the difference. It's a little bit flaky around the edges. It's not like so flaky it's going to hurt your eye, but the texture is definitely different. But let's see if that actually impacts the shade in the swatch. And I have tried this one on my eyes. It looks absolutely stunning. It looks super metallic and punchy, but also a nice neutral, and it has a slight flip to it, but nothing too crazy. And I am sorry for the in and out of focusing. That's just the camera. It's gonna do that. I'm sorry. But let's go ahead and swatch. Oh, yes. So you can see at the top how you have that little bit of texture right here. That is that flaky texture. And if you apply it correctly, and maybe you might need something like a base to put down first so that those flakes do not fall off throughout the day. But it really does pack a nice, bright, metallic punch. You can see at the end right there how much more opaque that is than the shade above it. Just notice my nails are kind of like that second shade. Huh. Maybe it's the same pigment. I don't know, but wow, my nails are doing pretty much the same thing as that second shade, which is really fun. But yeah, so you can see the foiled flakes on the side there, and it is definitely a different texture. If you do not like that flaky texture, this one might not be for you, but there are not that many in this palette. I think it's the only, yeah, it's the only Fusion Flakes in the palette. So if you don't like that kind of a formula, there's only one in here. But yeah, this one is a gorgeous one. I can tell I'm gonna get a ton of use out of this one. I didn't notice a super high amount of fallout with that shade. I did put down a base though. So just keep that in mind when you use it and kind of test it out a little bit. The next two shades are Heavenly Halos, and the first one is Protected. We have shade Protected. In this one, oh wow, this one has a beautiful shift to it. Has a little bit of red in there. It has a red to a purple to a bright blue and with a little bit of greenish gold in there. This one is such a unique shade. It's kind of hard to describe. So this one definitely doesn't have as much of a base to it. I can tell it's mostly like a transparent base with that pigment right on top with some glitter, and it kind of makes for a cool, I don't know, it makes for a cool effect. It's kind of hard to describe. It's almost like a rainbow in this shade. So I can see a little bit of a reddish pink in there. So it looks like a pastel rainbow all in one shade. I love that. Let's see what it is in the swatch. Ooh, okay, so it looks a little bit more subtle. It is more pastel, so you have that bright pinky purple to the blue and then to the green and a little bit of that pale yellow. Let's see if I can actually see the red in it. I can't really see the red. It's mostly that yellow, gold to green to pink, like a pinky purple, and then to the blue. But it's definitely like a subtle rainbow. Oh, it's so pretty. I know it's hard to focus on one shade when I have all of them on my hands, but if I did them individually, my hand would be red by the end of this, and I really don't want to do that because then you wouldn't be able to see the shade very well. But yeah, oh, look at that shift. Love when you can see that flip, and really when you look at it from afar, you see so many different shades all at once, and it's so pretty. I mean, look at that. Oh, wow. The camera keeps freaking out when I do that. All right, so we have one more shade on the top row, and it is called Evolving, which kind of was one of the shades that drew me into this palette when I first opened it. And it is a beautiful pale light green to gold to teal kind of a shift, which, oh, it's so pretty. I love green shades, and this one in particular feels like a shade that I'm going to wear a ton. I love any kind of green, but especially like a green to gold to teal. That is like a dream come true, and I'm so excited. All right, let's swatch. Ooh, that one has a little bit more of a base to it. So it definitely has a little bit of a darker base, not too dark though. And this flip, oh, it's so pretty. Oh, look, there's the blue, and then it goes to a pale yellow, to a gold, to the green. Oh, wow. That's such a pretty shade. That's definitely going to be one of my favorites. I tried this one on without a base, and it did have fallout. So next time I try this, I am going to put a base underneath it. So just be wary that this one has a ton of glitter in it, and it could have some fallout. But if you wear a base, some kind of eyeshadow base or a liquid shadow underneath, you will be fine. Because the other shade was fine. So if this shade is fine, that one's going to be fine. But wow. So far, the top row is crushing it. So gorgeous. This one, it's definitely a little bit harder to see the flip on it. It just almost looks like a darker green, but eventually you will see the teal. But I will say that might make it hard to see when it's on the eyes. So it's probably just gonna look like a green shadow, which is fine. It's gonna be more of a subtle shade, but I will say the next row is gonna be where all of your bold, punchy shades are gonna be. But again, a variety is good when it comes to a palette like this because you don't always want those super punchy in your face shades depending on where you're going. So let me go ahead and clean off my hand and we'll get to the next row. Next up, we have the Bold Energy row, and we have a silk press shifter, and you have shades Strong and Brave. So I think what I'm going to do with these is I'm only going to swatch the two that are in the same pan next to each other. I'll clean my hand in between so it doesn't get too cluttered, because these are going to be the really intensely shifty ones that need kind of their moment in the sun. So let's go ahead and start with shade Strong. Oh my gosh. Wow, this shade is so pretty. You have that deep dark purple to the indigo to the bright teal, and it is a straight up metallic shade. This one definitely is going to be like your dark black base multi-chrome, and this one I see mostly blues and purples. But yeah, this is just like almost like a night sky. I feel like if a night sky were a shade, that's this one. So I am so excited to actually swatch this out because it already looks beautiful on my finger. So let's go ahead and swatch. Oh my gosh. Look how pigmented that is. Wow. Look at that flip. Ugh. So it's a little bit harder to see that purple, I will say. It's kind of more like a dark blue purple and not a straight up like magenta purple, but you do see that flip. It goes from that bright teal to that dark royal blue almost with a hint of purple in there. But this is going to be such a beautiful shade to wear all over the eye. You might need just a little bit of shadow in the crease to start you off, and then this one all over the lid, just star of the show, super bright, super impactful, so fun. Oh, I'm so excited to give this a try on my actual eyes. I'm so excited because it looks so beautiful as a swatch, but I know it's going to look 10 times more beautiful on my eyes. And because it has this shift, you don't need another matte shadow to deepen up the outer corner. It's going to kind of naturally do that because of the curvature of your eye. So I love these kind of shades. I'm so excited to dive into this. Oh my gosh. It's so pretty. Sometimes I just look at makeup and I'm just like, wow, and I stare at it for a while. This is one of those shades. So next shade, we have shade Brave, and this one looks kind of similar to a shade I have from Clionadh. So at the end, if I see any shades that are similar, I might do some comparisons for you if I have one. This one is also a silk press shifter, but it almost feels like the flaky formula. I know that it says it's not the same formula, but it kind of has that same feel. This one is so intensely flippy. It's great. And yes, I made flippy a word. It goes beautifully to that pink and purple. It almost looks like a sunset. And then it goes into that bright green gold. The edges are gold. The middle's green. If you keep going, it goes back into that light purple, almost a periwinkle. Ugh, this one has such an intense shift, and I'm so excited to see how it actually swatches out because I haven't actually swatched all these yet. All right, let's do it. Oh, wow. Oh, look at that bright purple. Oh, the bright purple pink to that bright green teal almost. It's more of a green than a teal, but still like a minty green. Wow. Okay, so this one is definitely more of your subtle multichrome option, as in like a muted color, not your bold black base multichrome. It's a more light base, almost transparent with that pigment right on top. So this one, you can like, it's not as in your face if you wore the teal one that I have on top. But it still packs such a beautiful punch, and it's going to have people being like, what color are you actually wearing on your eyes? I'm so confused, which I love when people ask me that. It's one of my favorite things ever. But yeah, green and purple and pink are some of my favorite colors, and having them all in one shade is making me so happy. Ugh, look at that shift. That is such a big difference. Like you can see that dark purple to blue at the top is not as big of a difference as like that purple to green. Wow, just wow. So pretty. As you can tell, my hand is super glittery, so just keep in mind that that's what's gonna happen when you take off these shades. Next up, we have shades Fierce and Fearless. These are called whipped powder shifters. Shade Fierce is one of those that when I opened up the palette, it changed the most depending on what angle I was holding the palette. So I'm so excited to give this its moment to shine. This one was one that I swatched in my video unboxing the Beautylish box, and it obviously came with this one, and I swatched 3 different shades. This is one of them because it just drew me in so much, and it did not disappoint. So I'm ready for y'all to see it. This is shade Fierce. Oh my gosh, yes. So I know that there are indie shades out there that do this, and I don't know what the name of the actual pigment is, but this almost looks like a black based multichrome with like a rainbow of shades. You can kind of see everything, especially the red to yellow to green. In my opinion, I kind of see a little bit of blue around the edges, but I think that might just be the black base, and it's when it curves, and it might be a trick of the eyes, but at least that red to gold to green is super strong of a flip. And this is one of those quintessential multi-chromes that is like so different and impactful wherever you look on the eye. If you put it on your eye, you're going to see something different from every angle. And I do love some high impact multi-chromes. So let's go ahead and give her her spotlight. It kind of trailed off in the end, so let me just clean that up just a little bit. Add a little bit onto the tail of that just to make it a little bit nicer looking of a swatch so that you could see. I just dipped my finger in it again and add a little bit to the end because that was my fault with the swatch. But look at that shift. Oh my God. It's so different. I mean, red, like bright red, to a yellow, and then to the green. It's really hard not to see that shift. I mean, that is a really powerful shift, and everyone is going to wonder what the heck you have on your face, which I just love that. I welcome that question so much. I love talking about makeup, so it's definitely a conversation starter. But it's not super, super glittery. There is some glitter in there, but it is mostly a metallic kind of a shifter shade, and I know a lot of people really enjoy that kind of a shift and that kind of shade. So a lot of people are going to really love this. They're looking for that high impact, and this shade really does give it to you. So let's go ahead and swatch Fearless. Ooh, this one kind of feels like, so it looks like a black base is paired with a non-black base in the duos, at least so far. This one, shade Fearless, does seem like it has a lighter or transparent base to it and then pigment. But this one, I think I like even better than Fierce. I just think it's still got that high impact, but it's almost more neutral, which I am a girly who loves neutrals. And this is a way to have the best of both worlds because I also really like color. So I love a shade like this, and it has that beautiful, like almost tangled, like Rapunzel, pink to purple, like a peachy pink to a purple kind of a vibe with lots of glitter, and then all of a sudden it shifts to that green and that green teal almost. This is stunning. This is like if a flower was a shade with pink peachy petals and it shifts to the leaves. Oh, I love the way this looks. Let's go ahead and swatch. Oh my gosh, look at that. Bright green, pinky purple, peachy to green. I can't even ask for a better shift. Super metallic, slightly glittery. Perfection. Just absolutely perfect. I'm in love. I can't wait to put this all over my eyes. But yeah, look at that nice shift. Next up is shade Loved and Healed, and we're going to do Loved first. This is a silk press shifter. Ooh, this is like a perfect for Valentine's Day shade. Oh, that's gorgeous. So you have like a red to pink to green. The green is kind of a surprising flip in there, but almost like a green gold. So you got a pink, red, and gold. Oh, wow, so pretty. Let's go ahead and swatch. You know the drill by now. Ooh, okay, so that one's a little different. You do have that bright red shift and then that gold shift. So this is another one of those that kind of can lean more neutral. And then all of a sudden you get that bright pink pop, which is really nice and different. Like I haven't seen a lot of shades like that. So I'm excited to actually try that on my eyes. I have not yet, but I'm thinking this might be my Valentine's Day shade. I don't know. If I go out to dinner for Valentine's Day, this is it. It's gorgeous. I love seeing those peach glitters in there. Wow, and that flip is just so intense. Wow, I love it. Shade Healed, which almost from here you can't really see too much of a difference, but we'll probably see it up close. Oh, wow, yeah, okay. So shade Healed is definitely purple. You cannot see it from the angle I had it, but it's like a deep royal purple with a pink in there. You can see that pink flip a little bit, and then it goes to that greeny gold as well. Oh, wow. This one is like magic. It looks magical. I did not know this was purple. In the shade from here, you can see it almost looks pinky maroon, but then here it's this bright ultraviolet purple. And that is such a surprise. Oh my gosh. But wow, it's so pretty. And this one, oh my gosh. So it looks also like a black-based multi-chrome, which gives it that depth that you see when you flip it. Oh, it's so pretty. So let's go ahead and swatch this because I haven't really seen it up close. Oh. Okay, that one had pigment for days. Look at that. Ugh. So super bright, super bold. This would look good on absolutely any skin tone, but if you have deeper skin, I would imagine that this shade in particular would be so high impact. I mean, it's high impact on me as well, but it's just one of those shades that I just feel like any skin tone could rock it. But, wow, it's so bright, but it has enough warmth in there that even cool and neutral and warm tones can get away with this. It just looks so good. Oh, wow. This pink and purple duo is fun too. And since it kind of has this similar shift, if I did an eye look with the pink shade on the inner part of the eye and then the purple shade on the outer part of the eye, it would look completely different from every single angle, and that would be so fun. And these shades in the flip actually kind of go together, so it could be a good idea to do. I don't know. It might be a fun experiment. Should I do it? I want to do it. Love the super strong flip of these shades. Ugh. And it's like Valentine's Day, neutral green. Valentine's Day, neutral green. Love it. So we have the last two whipped powder shifter shades of the bold row. Inspiring and Abundant. Ooh, I like Abundant. I like that name. Okay, so let's go ahead and do Inspiring first, which this one actually has like that almost foiled texture, just like Brave did. They all kind of feel different on like when you're touching them. I feel like the ones on this, like Inspiring, Fierce, and Centered almost had that kind of flaky feel. Well, actually no, Inspiring and Centered and Brave had that kind of flaky feel so far, even though it's not, they're not all the flake formula. But this one is shade Inspiring, and oh wow, that beautiful silver. I'm gonna kind of take a page out of Teresa's book for a second and say it might be that Tin Man male part shade that she always talks about looking for, but in a flip version, like something that actually flips into a different color. So she might actually really enjoy the shade. I know she has this palette because I watched her unboxing, and she actually had it before she got it in the box. So I am actually interested to see if she talks about that at all, but every time I think of a silver, like a beautiful metallic silver, I think of her. So love you, Teresa. But this is so freaking pretty. It's almost like a silver, but like kind of a gunmetal. Oh, wow. And then it shifts to this like deep blue. It's like a bluish teal gunmetal to a bright white silver with like, I don't know. It's really hard to describe. The pink that's around the edges is just because I didn't clean my fingers well enough. So don't mind that. But let's go ahead and swatch. Oh, wow. Yeah. That is so pretty. And you definitely see that blue when it's like this. In person, it doesn't look as blue. It almost looks like a gold, like a pale goldish silver. I don't know. What is that called? Pewter. And then to a bright silver, like super Tin Man silver. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's still very neutral. But it's also bold. It's different. All of the other silvers I have are not quite the same. So I like when even a neutral brings in a nice twist, and Danessa Myricks did that beautifully. Last one in the row is Abundant, and I think I'm gonna love it because I can already see when I put my finger over it that it turns it purple, but it's a bright like emerald green, which emerald green is my favorite color. Oh my god. Yes. So it's hard to tell what my favorite shade of this palette's going to be, but this one is definitely a contender. This bright emerald green, but then to a pale minty green, and then to the like deep blue and then purple. I can see both in here, which is just amazing. I love when I can see 4 or 5 different colors in a multi-chrome. You know you're getting your bang for your buck. And it's such a unique shade. And it feels so smooth on the fingers. I just know this one's going to swatch incredibly. it did. It did not disappoint at all. Super bright green, and then you see a little bit of that light green at the end, and then you have that flip to the blue kind of right here, and then to the purple at the end. Oh, wow. And then when you bring it up close, you really see all the glitter and shininess in there. Oh, wow. This is stunning. Look at that flip of both shades. Oh, I love it. This one also might be a fun one to do, the first shade on the inner corner and then the other shade on the outer corner, just to see what happens, because they do kind of go together, which is kind of fun. Maybe that's why they were split like that. I don't know. So now we're on the last row of the palette, which is the grounding energy row. And we're going to start off with the first shade, which is a molten metal, and it is in shade Invincible. So let's see how it feels. Ooh, it feels... sharp is not the right word, but there's like little bits sticking up out of the shade. Oh wow, but it is intensely metal. Look at that. Now that is the Tin Man you know what. I thought it was the other one. That might be this one. And this one actually has a little bit more of a shift to it. The other one kind of shifted darker. This one shifts into a blue, like a light blue kind of a shade. So that's really pretty. But yeah, so it's like a silver to a light blue, but in an intense metal formula. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like actually swatched. Ooh, yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, this one has a bit more of a flip to it, so I think I almost prefer the formula of the other, but the shift of this one. But yeah, this one's still really gorgeous. Got that beautiful metallicness to it, but it's not quite as smooth going on as the other shade was. But the look of it, absolutely stunning, and I think it would still work on the eye, but this one, it kind of has a little bit of that flakiness as that other flake formula, so I would recommend a base with this one just to make sure you don't have any fallout. But that beautiful blue shift to the silver, it's like a winter wonderland in a multi-chrome. Or a duochrome. Well, it might be a multi-chrome. I don't know. I don't know. I see it more as a duochrome than a multi-chrome because I see the silver and I see that light blue. But I don't know what else. I don't know what other shade I'm still supposed to be seeing. I see a tiny bit of red on the outside, but I don't know if that's just from my swatches. But still gorgeous. Still love it. Walking in a winter wonderland. And then we have shade Unstoppable. This one, I don't know what I'm going to feel about it. I was right. So it doesn't look like it has too much of a shift. If anything, it looks more just like a regular eyeshadow formula, like a regular metallic. It is called a suede shimmer, so maybe that's why it's supposed to be more subdued, a little bit less of a shift, but still having that beautiful quality of shadow. It kind of goes from a copper to a red, like almost like a maroon, but not super, super deep. And it has a little bit of different glitters in there, which is nice, but definitely not something that is like, oh my gosh, wow, in my opinion. But we'll give it a shot. We'll swatch it. All right, so let's go ahead and swatch. All right, so it definitely looks better on the hand than it did on the swatch, but still not much of a shift to it, which is kind of disappointing. I do like the almost teal-like glitters in there. It does give it a little bit more of an interesting look, but it's definitely more of just a bronze shade. Maybe there's a little bit of a red shift in there, but it's really hard to tell. So far, that one's kind of underwhelming, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of underwhelming for that particular shade, but it's still pretty. Like, I'd get a lot of use out of it as a copper shimmer, but I have a lot of copper shimmers in my collection, so let's just move on from that one. Next up, we have shade Powerful, which is another kind of a red shade, but ooh, this one has a huge shift to it. Now, if I'm going to do a red, this is the shift I want. This one is like, I don't know. I have never seen a shade like this. It's like almost like an oil slick. Does that make sense to anyone? Like that rainbow that you see on an oil slick. It has that deep black, but then you have like the green and the red and the gold and then a little bit of blue. It kind of looks like a little rainbow on top of oil. Does that reference work for anybody else? I don't know, but that's exactly what I see. It's beautiful, definitely different from what I saw in the pan. Kind of shocking actually, because it looks bright. It looks about the same as the shade next to it when it's sitting over there. But then when I swatched it, oh my gosh, it's so different. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. This one, it does have a slight flake to it, I will say. If you like zoom in, you can kind of see there's a few little empty patches where a couple flakes have happened, but I think with a base this one will be just fine. And honestly, it might have just been the swatch error, but this is such a unique shade. It's almost hard to capture. It's beautiful. It has this like beautiful teal purple, but on top of a gray almost, and then a little bit of that red maroon to green to gold. I don't know what to call it. Definitely one of the most unique shades in my collection now. I will say that. And it's a great addition. It might not be a shade that I wear super, super often because of how deep it is, but it's going to be a really fun one to wear. So yeah, it shifts probably the most different colors I can see in that one shade. So I'm very happy for that one. But yeah, definitely really different. And it looks even more maroon. I held it like this and you can really see that maroon shift then. It's hard to do it here. There we go. You can really see it there. But yeah, it keeps shifting different colors, especially when I'm holding it away from the direct light. You can see it a lot better. But still flaking though. That's annoying. All right, maybe it's my error. I don't know. I'm gonna have to play around with that because when I wiped it away, it kind of blended back into itself and was fine. So maybe it was just an error of too much on my finger at once. But that is something that I'll have to keep in mind when applying because it could lead to fallout. So just be careful with that. All right, next up we have shade Unbreakable. And this one in the pan does not look like anything crazy. And on the finger, it doesn't look like anything crazy. Am I tripping? Is this supposed to shift into anything? Is it supposed to shift? Because it's not shifting. It's not shifting. Hello? It's not shifting. It just looks like a burgundy kind of a shimmer eyeshadow. I don't get it. It's just like a basic shimmer. This one is a little disappointing seeing it in this palette. I expected a little bit more of the shifty shades, not as much of the neutrals, just because of how expensive this palette is. But we'll just go ahead and swatch it, give it a try. Let's see, right here. It's a beautifully pigmented shadow, but it doesn't really have much of a shift to it. Yeah, I'm not as impressed with that one. Beautiful quality. Like if Danessa Myricks comes out with an actual eyeshadow palette with mattes and shimmers, if that's the shimmer quality, it's going to be fantastic. But for this price point, I would have preferred another multi-chrome, to be honest. So yeah, moving on from that one. Last shade is called Enough. I'm hoping for something star. I'm just hoping for something super, super crazy good. And it's not as much. Okay, so this is a suede shimmer. I don't mean to say it's not good, but compared to the other ones on the other rows, it's kind of underwhelming. It's got that green to blue to purple shift, but not like the other one above it, which is shade Abundant. It's like that one, this one's a more muted version of that. It's good and it's a multi-chrome and I will get use out of it, but if I'm gonna go for this color shift, I'm gonna go bold. I want it to be in your face, super glittery, super crazy. This one is more of like you could almost get away with wearing it as just a green. And it kind of looks like when you turn your eyes, it's just a little deeper at the edges. I don't know. I hate to say that I'm disappointed in the shade because I'm not disappointed, but it's just kind of more underwhelming than the other one. And I wish I was ending off with a bang. This one's kind of a fizzle, you know? All right, let's swatch it though. Yeah, it's still beautiful, but you can definitely see that it doesn't shift like the other one does. It has a little bit of a shift, but nothing crazy. Yeah, nothing crazy. All right, well, that row was a little bit more of a letdown, to be honest. The other ones were much more like crazy, bold, fun, but we'll go ahead and do my final thoughts in a little bit, but I'm going to see if I have any shades that compare to these, and I'll let you know what I find. But first, let me just show you shade Abundant next to this one. So they kind of look the same right there, but the other one looks more vibrant, and then you get the shifts. See the purple and the blue? You don't really get any shift with the other one. It's just a green, which I do love a green metallic, don't get me wrong. But if you're going to advertise it as a multi-chrome, which maybe it's not, maybe it's just supposed to be metallic, but in this palette, I feel like it should be a multi-chrome, you know? You get a lot more out of it. It's just so much more vibrant than the other one. I don't know. Maybe I'm being nitpicky. Let me know in the comments, but what would you prefer from a multi-chrome palette? Would you prefer the subdued, like a mix of subdued and not subdued, or would you want all of them bold? Just let me know in the comments what you think. All right, so I will show you, I do have some shades from Clionadh, and they are absolutely gorgeous. I thought I had a silver, but I guess I didn't buy the other silver in the hyper glittery formula, which is the one at the top, the rose gold and the gold. But I do have this bright silver right here, and I can go ahead and swatch that one. It is called Satellite. It does not have a flip to it, but it is hyper foiled metallic kind of a shade. Gimme Glow Cosmetics is another indie brand. Danessa Myricks has gone pretty mainstream because she's in Sephora, but look how much pigment is still left on my finger. I mean, this shade, it lasts forever. I don't know how I'm ever gonna hit pan on it. Let's go ahead and swatch Invincible, which I think is the closest to that. Yeah, definitely the closest to that. So you can kind of see a little bit more of that foiled texture. It doesn't call it that, it calls it a molten metal. The Danessa Myricks one definitely has a little bit more glitter in it than the Gimme Glow one. The Gimme Glow is straight up metallic, and the Danessa Myricks is, it does have that blue shift to it, but this one almost has that as well. So I'm not really sure if that's an intentional shift or if it's the same pigment or what, but this is very, very similar. So if you want to get this shade, I know the Danessa Myricks looks slightly brighter, and it does feel different. The Gimme Glow one is a lot smoother in pigment and feel, and then this one is more of like a flaky metallic kind of a shade. So they're both really beautiful. It just kind of depends what formula you like, but is this flaky shade going to be okay without a base? I know that the top one, the Gimme Glow one, is fine without a base, but I don't know if I can say the same for the metallic one. There's going to be a little bit more fallout because of the glitter. But as you can see, there are options if you don't want to get the whole palette. Let's see if I can find another one. I don't think any of my Gimme Glow Cosmetics ones are like this. No, I don't think I have any that match for that, but let me check my Clionadh ones, because I might have a few in here. I think I do, actually. All right, so here are my Clionadh ones. I do have a few more Gimme Glow ones right here. Ooh, that teal to blue kind of looks familiar. I can go ahead and show you. Ooh, it's like super glittery. Yeah, it's kind of a different formula, but it's got that kind of same teal to deep blue pigment in it. I think Shade Strong was the one. Yes. Shade Strong from the Danessa Myricks palette. I put that on top. So they are different. They're not the same, but they do have that kind of flip to them. The Danessa Myricks one is a lot more smooth. They are very similar in shift and pigment, so there are options out there for this one. They're not 100% the same, but I definitely wanted to show that one to you because they kind of reminded me of each other. I also have one that may be similar, may not be. So this one is shade Electric Unicorn from Gimme Glow Cosmetics. Comes in a nice big pan. You do get a lot of product with the Gimme Glow Cosmetics ones. But let's go ahead and swatch Electric Unicorn. And this one, you barely need to touch it. It might not even be the same. I don't know. We'll see. So that is Electric Unicorn from Gimme Glow. You have that gold to pink to purple blue, and that one kind of reminded me of shade Protected or Brave. Let's see. Let's do Protected first. Okay, no. They are not the same. They kind of have an opposite switch to them. Huh. They're opposites of each other. I've never seen that before, actually. That's really interesting. That's why it reminded me of that. Oh, wow, okay. Mystery solved at least, but still, I thought I was going crazy when I was like, oh, that reminds me of the shade. But yeah, they flip-flop. That's so fun. Let's try shade Brave, because maybe that's also what I was thinking of. I'm gonna put that here. That one also kind of is similar, but definitely not the same. But that's so funny that the top two are like, they're opposite of each other. But that's really funny. So yeah, okay. They're not the same. False alarm, but really good options if you want that kind of a shift. They do have that kind of shift, just kind of opposite of each other. So I think I had another one in the Clionadh shades that was similar to one. Let me just check that real quick. We have shade Glimmer right here from Clionadh, and it has that kind of blue with the transparent base. So I'm going to try that and compare it. See how it has that blue with Resilient. Similar, maybe not the same. Okay, but very similar. Very, very similar. This one is the Clionadh, and this is the Danessa Myricks. Same pigment, just a little punchier, and it does have that clear base, so very, very, very similar effect. You can build the Clionadh one to be as punchy as the Danessa Myricks one. This one's called Engrave, and it kind of reminded me of this Powerful shade. Oh, no, that's not it. I think it's shade Healed, sorry, hold on. Pause. Shade Healed. Nope, that one's too purpley, that's not the one. Loved. Probably Loved. Yes, okay. So this one is shade Loved from Danessa Myricks, and this reminds me so much of Engrave. Engrave has a little bit more of a pigment to it. See how they're not exactly the same, but they're very similar, and see that shift is pretty much the same. I think it's the same pigment, just slightly different. Has that green gold shift, and then that bright pink. Ugh, so pretty. But yeah, Engrave from Clionadh is a very similar shade to shade Loved. If you were interested in getting a single version of any of these shades, I will try to find more dupes if I can for these from other places. I don't have an endless collection of single shadows from indie brands though. I did have to buy every single one myself. None of them really are looking the same other than that so far. So I think that's all I have, but I will keep you updated if I find any more. I have searched my collection and I have not found any more that I thought looked close enough to call them a dupe or, or call them an alternative to the shade. There are a ton of shades in here that are very unique and that I do not have in my collection. So let's go ahead and round up this palette review by saying, do you need it? Well, short answer, I guess. It kind of depends. I mean, a lot of these palettes are kind of like that. It just depends on your need and your collection. But if you are a lover of multi-chromes, you love having them all in one palette, and you like all of these shades, or at least a good 90% of them, then maybe you do need it. But if you like maybe just one or two of the shades, maybe 3 or 4 even, maybe it's best to look into some indie brand options to see if you can get singles, especially because with indie brands, you may be paying a little bit more per shade, but you also tend to get either the same amount of product or more product depending on the brand. So it's kind of hard to tell, but if you're a neutral lover who is barely ever going to use multi-chromes, this is not for you. I can tell you that specifically. I am I love neutrals, but I love color and I love multi-chromes, so I'm a little bit of a different story. I also love reviewing multi-chromes, using some multi-chromes for like a bold, creative look for filming and YouTube and Instagram, sometimes that I wouldn't go outside normally in, just because it's not normally my style, but I love makeup, I love the creative aspect, I love playing with makeup, so this palette fits right into my collection and I'm so glad I have it. I also appreciate that they give the formula type so you know really which formulas you're going to like if you test it out. So maybe if Danessa Myricks comes out with more palettes or more shades, maybe eventually singles or smaller palettes, you can look at the formula type and know, oh, I may like that one, or oh no, I probably won't. So I do appreciate the transparency of that. But overall, I think I like a good maybe 80% of the shades, I would say. I think some of them are a little underwhelming, which in a palette like this expensive, I really wish wouldn't happen. This Enough shade is just like a normal green shimmer, and the Unbreakable is like a normal maroon shimmer, and then this one here, Unstoppable, is, I'm not really sure what to think of it. It's kind of that normal shimmer as well, but it has a little bit more than the other two shades. Well, I thought Enough has sparkle too. This one's just kind of boring. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, these three shades are more boring than the rest of the palette. There's something interesting in all the other shades, but these three are just not my favorite. I still will probably wear the shade Enough because it's green and because I do like the little bit of flip that it has. It's more of a underwhelming multi-chrome if I don't want to go super strong with a multi-chrome, so I might get use out of it. But the other two probably I will never touch. But this one here, Resilient, I will say I've seen a ton in other brands. Yeah, this one, I believe, Fierce, is a common multi-chrome. It's like the standard go-to multi-chrome when people talk about those. I feel like other brands do have it. But as far as the other ones, I feel like they're pretty unique. I mean, there's nothing in here that I was like, oh my god, I've seen this 1,000 times. And I do watch a lot of swatch videos on YouTube and things like that. So even though my collection of multi-chromes is not vast, I at least kind of know what I've seen in the past from different brands. But I will say there are definitely a few options from Clionadh if you want to get some single shades, and there are definitely some options from Give Me Glow as well. So be on the lookout for those. Get a single if you just want one specific shade. Otherwise, the people that need this palette are either Danessa Myricks beauty lovers, or people who are kind of afraid to dive in to indie brands just yet. They're kind of wanting to branch out into multi-chromes but not sure where to start. This one's great. The price is high, but like I said in the beginning, multi-chrome pigments are expensive, and no matter where you get them from, they're going to be expensive because of the actual pigment that's used. So that's why if you want just one particular shade, it's going to be more financially savvy to get just one or two shades, because even though they're expensive, you're just getting the ones that you want and not just a palette for $125. But I will say, for $125, if you add up a bunch of single shades from different brands, I don't know if you're going to reach 18 shades. So you actually do get a little bit of savings here. But yeah, you just have to like the shades that come in the palette, as always. So I needed this in my collection, but I don't know if everyone needs this in their collection. I think if you got it in the box, you'd be so extremely happy with it, like I did. If you had to pay $125 out of pocket and not on sale, I'm not sure if you would get 100% use out of it unless you loved every single shade in here that I swatched and think you're going to get use out of it. So I love it. I love the formulas. I think that they work really well. I have worn them on my eyes a few times, and the quality is really good. It's just a matter of if you like the shades. Remember, for these kind of flakier shades, to put on an eyeshadow base so that you don't have as much fallout. But when you start playing around with the shades, you'll kind of understand which shades need what to work. But yeah, I just want to give y'all a heads up that fallout could happen with some of these shades. Just to be careful, maybe do your eyes first. So that was the video. I hope this was really helpful for you. I hope this helped you either decide to get it or decide not to get it, depending on your needs. This is the first eyeshadow from Danessa Myricks that's not the liquid, like the tube one, and I'm very impressed with the quality. I think it's really great, and if Danessa Myricks comes out with a eyeshadow palette that's just like a mix of shimmer and mattes, I probably would get it just to try it. It makes me really interested to try the matte one that she came out with. It has some creams and some mattes, but they're like all neutral matte shades. So I don't know. That one might be a future try on. I don't know. But thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know if you found this helpful. I can absolutely do this with other palettes if you want. If you have any other specific palettes that you want me to do this style video with, definitely let me know in the comments. I will say, doing this up close thing with matte shades, they don't swatch as beautifully usually, but we could still go for it. I mean, you could still see the shade up close and see the pigment in the swatch if you wanted to. I do have swatch videos up close with all of my other multi-chromes, so my Give Me Glow ones and my Clionadh shades, and you can find those on YouTube. I'll go ahead and link them in the description box for you, so you can easily find it if you want to go look. But yeah, this one is such a beautiful palette. I am in no way sad about this one. I really have enjoyed playing around with this one, and I know I'm going to keep enjoying playing around with it. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy to have gotten in the box, especially on a little bit of a discount, and I think a lot of people are going to get use out of this. Just be careful spending your money because it's a big price tag, so just make sure you'll get a whole lot of use out of it. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're having an amazing day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys!